All right, welcome to Beans Ball Hour, episode number 4, and the first football episode of the show. Uh, Basketball's dead now. It's pretty much just the summer league going on, and for being honest, I know nobody cares about the summer league anymore. So Cooper Flags played like 2 games. Bronny played, I guess, and I don't know. It's the summer league. Who cares, honestly? It lost all of its aura when they left Orlando Summer League. Um, so we're going to talk about football because the Hall of Fame game is like 2 weeks away or 3 weeks away, like 2.5 weeks. It's like at the very end of this month, and it came quick. I remember last season, I was just like I was so excited for football because it felt like it was taking ages. But I think this NBA season, this NBA playoff, because it went all the way to a game 7 in the final, it kind of it didn't feel like I was a little let down last postseason by the playoffs, and this season I was not. Um, so football feels like it's kind of sneaking up on me. Like I wasn't fully ready for it yet. But now here we are, and I have some things to say because I think for the most part in football, the way we discuss players, I think we do a decent job as a football community of not talking about players the way players get talked about in the NBA. In the NBA, it's a very narrative heavy thing. It's very media driven. It's, you know, we don't we don't always just we don't always just talk about players based on what they do on the floor and what they produce. We talk a lot about, bags and we bring legacy into it a lot. Like we have to argue about like is Kevin Durant better than I don't know, Cade Cunningham right now? And it's like, well, Cade Cunningham is better, but because Durant's been in the league for so long, we want to give it to Durant and all that stuff. I feel like we do a good job of avoiding that in football. Like if a new wide receiver pops up and it's just immediately great, and it's like, oh, this guy's the best receiver in football, but he's only been that for a year. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of just like, well, he's the best. And the one exception we have in football to that rule is quarterback. And I've been really, really annoyed at how we've discussed quarterback over the last couple years. Because there's a subsection of people that talk about it where the biggest accomplishment you can have as a quarterback right now is, I guess, beating Mahomes. I think we've reached a point with the Mahomes and the Chiefs thing where we need to correct back because they did go 2 in a row and then they get to the third and they were very good last year. They won like what did they win? They were like 16-1 or yeah, something like that in the regular season. They get through the playoffs, they go to the Super Bowl and get smashed. But it's like we can't keep doing this with the quarterback rankings. Like I'm just gonna say it, and it's bias, I know, because I am a Ravens guy. I'm a Ravens and a Seahawks guy. If they played each other, I always pick the Seahawks. It's, my allegiance lies with the Seahawks, but I am a Ravens fan too. And I love Lamar Jackson. I've loved Lamar Jackson ever since everybody saw that clip of him in high school. And the second I saw that clip, I was like, oh, this guy's going to be a dog. And then watching him win the Heisman at Louisville and getting drafted by the Ravens, I was so pumped. I just think Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback in the league right now. I just do. I watch him play every week during the season. I've watched almost every game of his career. I just think he's the best player right now. And it's not acceptable to say that because he hasn't beaten Mahomes in the playoffs. Because people want to say it's the Super Bowl, you have to win the Super Bowl. I don't think it is. They just want somebody to beat Mahomes in the AFC. I think if the Ravens would have beaten Mahomes in the AFC last year and lost to Philly in the if the Ravens beat the Bills in that divisional game and then go beat the Chiefs in the conference championship and then go lose to Philly, I think the conversation would be very different right now. I think everybody would be saying Lamar's the best quarterback in football. I think everybody would be saying he got robbed of the MVP. I think everybody would agree that Lamar Jackson had a season of a lifetime without winning the Super Bowl because he beat Mahomes. I don't think people really want him to win the Super Bowl. I think they want him to beat Mahomes. I want him to win the Super Bowl. I know he's going to win the Super Bowl someday. He's one of those guys to me. Him and Luka are the two guys right now in sports where I look at them and I just say, there's no way this guy retires without a ring. I think it's impossible. So I think it's going to happen. It's really annoying to me the way we discuss Lamar in particular. And it has been for a while now. Because for a guy they were convinced, these people in the media landscape were convinced he can't be a quarterback. He's got to become a wide receiver or a running back. He's not a natural thrower of the football. It's not quarterbacky enough. It's ridiculous stuff that they say about him. And then he goes out and he has 2 MVPs. He puts up just great season after great season. It's been very consistent. He missed 2 years with injuries. It just so happens those 2 years coincided with his contract stuff. The Ravens got a little worried about it. It was a little bit of you know, they were gonna trade him, or they were considering trading him, or they were fielding offers, and he was talking to other teams, and nothing got done. And then the Ravens give him his deal, but now I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think whenever Lamar's next deal comes up, I think the Ravens are gonna run to the door to get him to sign, to give him the most money in NFL history. And obviously, I think he deserves that because I just remember watching the Christmas game last year against Houston. And I was watching that game, and I just couldn't stop myself from saying, this is the best quarterback I may have ever seen. And I know that's definitely hyperbolic. That's definitely not true. He's not the best quarterback I've ever seen, but it feels that way when I watch him. I just I think about the way people talk about Aaron Rodgers, and they're like, "Oh my God, so talented. He's got the arm. He's this insane athlete. He's this incredible player. He's the most talented quarterback ever." And I watch Lamar play, and I don't know. I don't know, man. I think Lamar, it's the most fun that I ever have watching a player is watching Lamar. And it doesn't always result in the best results. We don't always win. The Ravens don't have a Super Bowl with him. Um, you know, Maybe I had a little bit more fun watching Russell Wilson in his prime, but that was always like for 7 weeks a year before he went back to being like just kind of mid. Lamar does it for a whole season. He did. It's not first 8 weeks Lamar Jackson like it was, first 8 weeks Russell Wilson. Um, and the Joe Burrow, the real reason I think that the Mahomes, that the question is beating Mahomes and not winning a Super Bowl is because of Burrow. Because Burrow beat Mahomes once 4 years ago and lost to the Rams in it still feels like Joe Burrow gets more credit for that than Matt Stafford does for actually winning the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford won that game. The Rams won that game. They were the champs. Yet everybody talks about that Bengals team, and everybody talks about Joe Burrow, and he beat Mahomes. And so I still have to see people going on television or on the internet and saying Joe Burrow is better than Lamar Jackson, when there's quite literally no proof of that whatsoever. Every time the Ravens and the Bengals play, the Ravens win. Lamar puts on a show. Burrow puts on a show too. I'm not saying Burrow's bad. I'm just saying, you know, Lamar's better because every time they play, Lamar wins. Lamar makes the playoffs every year he's healthy. Lamar has consistently put up equally, if not just better numbers than Burrow in the regular season. And you can't tell me anything about the playoffs because Joe Burrow's not even getting to the playoffs anymore. It's been 2 years they haven't made the playoffs. I know he was hurt the first year, but last year he was healthy and they didn't make it. And I don't want to hear about Joe Burrow. Josh Allen, I watched Josh Allen play and I love Josh Allen. But I watch him play and I watch Lamar play and I do the eye testing and I just say Lamar's better. Like I don't know what to say anymore. I think Josh is great. There was a time where I thought Josh was undeniably second to Mahomes. But now I just don't think that. I I just would rather have Lamar. I just think Lamar's the better player. It it comes down to that. And I do think Lamar should have won MVP last year. I think that was a Joel Embiid level MVP. Granted, I think, you know, I say that in the terms of it's a sympathy MVP and not that Josh Allen's a Joel Embiid level player. I mean, he's better than a Joel Embiid level. To cross sports analyze here, Josh Allen's a better football player than Embiid is a basketball player. But I don't think he deserved that MVP. I think he got it because they didn't want to give it to Lamar again, and they wanted him to have one. Which I hate when they do that because it's not like Josh wasn't ever gonna get one. It's not like he's gonna win another one. Like he would have gotten his MVP eventually, and he would have deserved it, and he would have earned it. I don't think he deserved it and or earned it last year. I think Lamar was better, but it's fine. It's fine. And I think the thing that really sealed that case for me is the playoffs last year. And I know Allen beat Lamar in the playoffs. But in that playoff game in Buffalo, Lamar Jackson, with like 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, had to drive the entire field. No Zay Flowers, no Rashad Bateman. Steve Sim was his receiver. Tylan Wallace was his receiver. Anthony Walker is, I think, the other guy's name that was his receiver. He didn't have anyone left on that receiving core. And he drove the field and he tied the game. Or he drove the field, got it within two, and then he tied the game by throwing the 2-point conversion to Mark Andrews, and Mark Andrews fucking dropped it. He did everything. He did his job. Andrews dropped it. We lost the game. All right. Let's see Josh in that situation next week in Kansas City. 3.5 minutes left. They just need a field goal to tie it. Or maybe even take the lead. I don't remember if they were down 1, or if they were down 2, or if they were down 3, but they just needed 3 to stay in the game. And Josh Allen gains 14 total yards. And yeah, his weapons weren't great either. But they were better than fucking Steve Sim and Tylan Wallace. It was Amari Cooper and Shakir and That other guy with the hair, Mac Hollins. Those guys are better than what Lamar had out there for that drive. And he had his two tight ends, and he got 14 yards, and they lost. And then when he throws up this prayer and the tight end almost catches it, they want to blame the tight end. Oh, what if he caught it? He should have caught it. And it's like he was falling down, going to the ground. The ball was almost on the fucking turf. And you think he should have caught it? It would have been a miracle if he caught it. He shouldn't have fucking caught it. He didn't catch it. But no, it can't be Josh Allen's fault. Again, it can't be Josh Allen's fault. We're gonna change the overtime rules because we feel bad Josh Allen didn't get a chance in overtime. We're gonna change the rules for Josh Allen because they lost to the Chiefs. All right. And then now this year they want to look at the tush push and the what did they change? They changed something about the quarterback sneak, the way they measure the distance he got because they think, oh, maybe he got that first down in the fourth quarter. And so we're going to change the rules again. We're going to look at the rules and fix the rules because Josh Allen lost to the Chiefs again. And he's got 4 chances, and he's fucked them all up. He's never beat the Chiefs. And again, it feels like Lamar gets killed more for losing to the Chiefs once than Josh Allen gets killed for losing to the Chiefs 4 times. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why Lamar. It's like when we lost that Titans game back in 2019 as the number 1 seed, when they had Tannehill and Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown and Vrabel was the coach, and they were the number 1 seed the next year. But the second we lost that game, it was like everyone decided, oh, Lamar's a choker. Lamar's not a playoff guy. Lamar can't get it done in the playoffs. He lost to the Chargers last year in like his 8th start of his career. And then he lost to Tennessee in 2019. So, we've decided Lamar's not a playoff guy now. So now no matter what he does, he's not a playoff guy. And that's stuck with him. And it's been a problem. And I think it's fucking ridiculous that we have to lay that judgment on somebody so fast. Yet, there's guys out there like Justin Herbert who've never won a playoff game. Never once won a playoff game, man. And it's not a peep. It's everybody wants to talk about his arm talent and his feel for the game and all that bullshit, whatever the fuck they say, that justify them making Justin Herbert a top 5 quarterback in football. And it's like, no, this is bullshit. He's not that fucking good. Because if he was that fucking good, they'd have won a playoff game by now. And he had this great, he only had like 3 interceptions all of last season. And then he gets to the playoff game and he throws 4. Why is that guy not a playoff choker? Huh? What the fuck's the deal there? Why can't we shit on him relentlessly for every single fucking day of the year, all the time, for being a fucking loser? Because at least Lamar wins playoff games. He's losing to Allen and Mahomes. It's not like he's losing to C.J. Stroud or Trevor Lawrence. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. I just find it so weird. I'll never understand it. The discourse around Lamar, it's been unfair his whole career. He's never really gotten a fair shake, and I don't know why we do it, because this is the story of a guy who won the Heisman Trophy, who we've all known since high school. When he was in high school and he was doing, he had that step back, that famous step back move at the goal line, and everybody remembers it, and everybody saw it at the time, and everybody has seen the video a billion times since. And all this stuff about how he had to change positions to succeed and he wasn't good enough at quarterback, and he is good enough at quarterback, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. Yet for some reason, that's not a story where we celebrate a guy. That's a story where we tear a guy down. Because I think the media is so mad that they were wrong when they said he had to change positions. They now have to make sure they're right. They can't let this guy be the guy. Because they didn't think he was going to be the guy when they first saw him. Which is weird, because I can guarantee you they didn't think Mahomes was going to be the guy when they saw him at fucking Texas Tech. You know, I don't think anybody was watching Mahomes at Texas Tech and was like, this guy's got a chance to be the greatest player of all time. Nobody fucking said that. It's dumb. I don't know why. Dumbfounded. It's ridiculous. Um, and Mahomes still having this chokehold on best quarterback in football. It's like, you know, I can't be mad because they do keep winning and they do keep going to the Super Bowl. So like I can't fully sit here and just shit all over that idea because they do go to the Super Bowl every fucking year. And there's a lot of fucking value in that. But it's been 2 years now where I've watched Mahomes play and I've just said there's guys better than him. But the team always wins. So we can't really say anything. And that's why I want Lamar to beat them so bad in the play. I want it so bad. I thought last year was the year. I thought we were going to go into Buffalo and take down Allen and end that debate for good. And then go into Kansas City and get our lick back for 2023. And it didn't happen. And it sucks. I'm mad it didn't happen. And I hope it happens this year. And the John Harbaugh piece of this that the Ravens fans are, concerned about is just that, is John Harbaugh good enough? Can we do it with John Harbaugh? And I don't know the answer to that question. You would think the answer to that question would be, well, yeah, they did it in 2012, but it's like that was fucking 13 years ago. That was a completely different world. I don't think we can really use that as the reason why we can win the Super Bowl now. But yeah, I'll talk about something else now. I don't need to talk about Lamar for a whole hour, even though I definitely could. Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. I'm not moved at all. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has been good for like 4 years. For like whenever his last year in Green Bay, I don't think he was that good. I think that was a legacy writing year for him where it was like, oh, it's Aaron Rodgers, like he just won MVP like back to back a couple years ago or whatever. And I just didn't think he was that good that year. And the team wasn't that good. They didn't make the playoffs. And then he goes to the Jets, and everybody's immediately like, oh, the Jets are going to be, the Jets are a Super Bowl team now because they got Rodgers. And I still don't think Rodgers would have been that good for them. I think he would have probably been better than he was like last year if he didn't get hurt. But I don't think they were going to be a Super Bowl team because I still didn't think that roster was good enough. And I definitely didn't think the quarterback was good enough. And they played last year, and it didn't work. They won. How many games did they win? Like 6 or 7 games. Like it wasn't anything impressive. And if I'm the Steelers, I would have brought back Russ before I did this. I would have went and traded for Kirk Cousins before I did this. I would have drafted Shador in like the 2nd or 3rd round before I did this. I wouldn't have. If I'm the Steelers, I don't want to waste time with Aaron Rodgers. Now, I'm not the Steelers because I would rather focus on winning a Super Bowl and what does it take to get towards that goal. They just really seem to care about, can we win 9 games and keep the over 500 streak alive? And excuse me, and keep Tomlin, keep this defense up and all that. It's they're an embarrassing franchise for football, I think, at this point because they love mediocrity. They've been mediocre. Even that one year when they started 11-0 and ended like 12-5 and lost the playoff game, it's like, God, that's the most mediocre. You can't get a more mediocre finish to 11-0 start. It was embarrassing, and I hate the Steelers, so I'm happy about it. And yeah, I don't want anything to do with Rodgers at this point in the NFL in his career. There would be nothing. I don't think they have anything to gain from this year of Aaron Rodgers. It's not like they have a young guy that they're gonna try and bring along. I make Will Howard jokes, but like they're not bringing Aaron Rodgers in to mentor Will Howard so Will Howard can be their starter 2 years from now. They I don't know what they're doing. They're the Steelers. They're fucking dumb. They don't care anymore. It's for a premier franchise in the NFL to be so comfortable being just completely irrelevant. It's like, I don't care if you make the playoffs every year. You're irrelevant. Nobody cares. You only make it because they added that fucking 7 seed most of the time, and you get crushed in the first round. The Ravens beat the fuck out of them this year. I think it was the Bills that beat the fuck out of them last year. It's like, so what do they do this year? They're going to get crushed by one of those two teams again, or it's going to be Kansas City this time, or I don't know, Houston even would probably crush them, like, or whoever wins that division. It doesn't matter. They're not going to win the division. They have to get in via wild card, and they're not good enough to beat any of the other division winners. They're just not. They're not close, and they're not doing anything to get closer. And so if we're not going to do anything to get closer, I'd rather just bring back Russ and be like, oh, we've got continuity. He was here last year. So the guys know him. He knows DK Metcalf. They get along. We know they like each other. So fuck it, we'll just do that again for a year and then hope we can get our quarterback in the draft next year. But no, they wanted Rodgers because they want to try and go win 9 or 10 games and get blasted in the playoffs because that's their goal, and I don't know why. Um, I want to talk about the Seahawks just because that's my team, but I know nobody probably gives a fuck about the Seahawks. There's really nothing going on. The Sam Darnold thing is interesting, and Jalen Milroe is obviously being set up to be the guy. We'll see how long that takes, but the way Seattle structured the Sam Darnold deal is that they have outs, after this season. If they really love what they see from Milroe, if Milroe ends up starting at some point this year, they can just get off the Darnold contract and say, hey, we got our guy. And that's exciting to me. And I think the defense was a top 5 defense the second half of last year once our guys got healthy. We were crushed with injuries in the first half of the year. There was a point where we had 5 defensive linemen on the injury report. It was like Leonard Williams was out, Mafe was out, Nwosu was out, Byron Murphy was out, and then I think maybe Derek Hall was out. It was bad. We didn't have anybody left. And so keep those guys healthy as much as you can. Bring in DeMarcus Lawrence. That's a big signing. I know he's old, and I know he's probably not going to be great, but he'll be good. It'll be good to have him with these other depth guys. And our linebackers the first half of last year were dog shit. It was Tyrell Dodson and fucking what's his name? Jerome Baker. It was like, this is bad. And then halfway through the year at the trade deadline, go get Ernest Jones from Tennessee, who was incredible last year, and start the rookie, Tyrese Knight, and those are now your two linebackers. And they were incredible last season. They really picked up the defense. We know what we have at corner with Witherspoon and a Woolen. And then you throw a Josh Jobe in there. At safety, have Love and Kobe Bryant and Julian Love. And fuck, there's somebody else, isn't there? I might be forgetting somebody else who's good. I think I am. I guess the rookies, Eamon Worry coming in on the defense. That's going to be an interesting piece that I've been, ever since we hired Mike McDonald, I've been talking about when's he going to find his Kyle Hamilton. And I think he probably found his Kyle Hamilton when he went and got Eamon Worry in the draft, traded up to get him. So I'm really excited about that because I think Mike has a plan, and I think he's a defensive genius. And I think his plans are probably going to work more often than they don't. The offense is definitely concerning. We drafted Gray Zabel, which I'm excited about, but the line still sucks. Like, he's going to be good, but that's probably not going to fix the entire offensive line because Abe Lucas is probably going to get hurt again. And we still don't know if Christian Haynes is any good. And we don't know if Oluwatimi is any good. And we think Charles Cross is good, but he doesn't have an extension. So that's concerning. Because even if he is good, he might just be gone next year. And the receivers, JSN I think is awesome. Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp can be a good second receiver still. You know, Bobo's good, but he's Bobo. He's fun. I don't know how good he is, I should say, but he's fun. He makes some crazy catches sometimes, but there's a reason he's not on the field. And then what MVS? It's like, okay, MVS. This guy's done nothing when a quarterback isn't Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see if Sam Darnold can break that curse. Probably fucking not, if we're being honest. I don't know. I feel it's really it's going to be a crazy fluctuating season. I feel like because I can see this team winning like 6 games and I can see this team winning like 12 games. It's like they're either going to be a surprise, really awesome team and they're going to win the division or make the playoffs and maybe win a playoff game, or we're going to be picking top 10. And I really hope that's one of those two is the case because we won 10 games last year, didn't make the playoffs. I guess if we win 10 games this year and do make the playoffs, that would be fine. And I think this season we have the quarterback in theory now. It's like we have a guy that we're bringing along. And that's kind of what I wanted the entire Geno era was just can we get a young guy in here and just try and like have him learn behind Geno? And they never did. And they kept committing to Geno. And I was just I wanted Penix. Penix wasn't available. I wanted Anthony Richardson back in that draft. He wasn't available. And then who was the other one? There was a third one in there. I don't remember. But now we got Darnold and Milroe. And in theory, if Milroe works out, we have the guy. And at least we have a chance at having the guy. We have, Geno, to me, I love Geno. Geno I thought was great for us. I would think back fondly on the Geno Smith years. But Geno was never going to be the guy to lead this team back to a Super Bowl. It was never going to happen. And Sam's the same. Going from Geno to Sam is like, it's the same thing. It's not going to happen with Sam. What could happen with Sam is that Sam provides valuable lessons to Jalen Milroe and helps Jalen Milroe develop. And 2 years from now, Jalen Milroe becomes the starter, and Jalen Milroe is the guy that leads his team back to the Super Bowl. That's possible. It was never going to happen with Geno. It was never going to happen with Sam. But we have a guy now on the bench that we can be excited about the future of. We can ponder years into the future of what could it look like with Jalen Milroe as the starting quarterback in Seattle. And that's kind of all I've been asking for. And it's like, I don't know if it's going to work. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe he was the third round pick for a reason. Maybe he actually can't throw the ball. But they said that about Lamar. They said Lamar wasn't a good thrower of the football, like I said earlier. And they're saying Jalen Milroe's not a good thrower of the football now. And look what happened. Look where Lamar's at. He's one of the best 3 quarterbacks in football. I think he's the second best quarterback in football if we're playing with the Mahomes rules. So why can't Jalen Milroe do that? Why not? He's got great running skills. He's very dynamic. They're going to use him this year as a rookie in packages. They've already said. I think Clint Kubiak is going to be a much better offensive coordinator than Ryan Grubb was last year. And I like Grubb because he was a Huskies guy, and he was there with Penix and Adunze and those guys. But Grubb was not good in the NFL. His run schemes were terrible. His goal line stuff was, it was atrocious. I don't think Geno was a very good goal line quarterback anyways. And then you throw in that scheme stuff, and it was bad. It was really bad. They couldn't do any fucking thing on the goal line or on a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. The game plan for Grubb was we're going to run halfback dive with this terrible offensive line against these defenses that know we're going to run halfback dive that have much better defensive personnel than we have offensive line personnel, and they smashed us every time. It never worked once. And then again, like I said, I just don't think Geno was a very good red zone quarterback, so that did kind of limit what Grubb was able to do, but I think Clint Kubiak will be much better. And, is replacing Lockett in this scenario, to me, the thing is we replacing DK Metcalf as the number 1 with JSN. I'm fine with that. We're replacing Kupp. We're replacing JSN as the 2 with Kupp. I'm fine with that. And then we're replacing Lockett as the 3 with MVS. Obviously, as a longtime Seahawks fan who's watched all the Tyler Lockett games ever, that's my guy. It doesn't seem like it's, that sounds like a very major downgrade, but Lockett didn't really do much last year. Let me pull up the numbers. Let me see what he did. Motherfucker, I'm not signing in with Google to go on fucking ESPN.com, bro. Fuck you. 49 catches, 600 yards, 2 touchdowns. Can MVS do that? Probably not, but he can probably do like 400 yards. And he can probably do 2 touchdowns. He may probably do more than 2 touchdowns. 49 catches, I don't know, maybe. It's like, it's not like Lockett did much last year is the point. His on-the-field production wasn't where his value came. On the field, I think we can replace that with other guys. The locker room stuff and the off the field is where I'm worried about it. Where, I'd like to have maybe Lockett around for Jalen Milroe. But Cooper Kupp can do probably a lot of that same veteran stuff Lockett could have. It's just different because he's not our guy like Lockett was our guy. Just because Lockett was here for so long. So I don't know. I'm I'm excited because it's going to be different. It's going to look different. And that's kind of all I've been asking for. Before I had the podcast for years, I was running the Fire Pete Carroll. I was like the leader of that. I was the we got to move on. When everybody was like, you can't fire Pete Carroll. He won the Super Bowl. You owe it to him. And it's like, well, the Seahawks also kind of owe it to the fans and the players to be worried about staying competitive and trying to win Super Bowls. And it was clear to me that Pete Carroll was not going to work in Seattle. And I'm really excited to see what he does in Vegas, and I think it could work in Vegas. But it was the classic case of, we needed a new voice. We needed a new guy running the show. And McDonald, I think last year he was incredible. I loved what I saw from a year one coach, 10 wins, didn't make the playoffs due to tiebreakers. 15 teams won 10 games last year, 14 of them made the playoffs. It was one of those years. Shit just went wrong. It was unlucky, and we were every bit as good to be a playoff team. We were every bit good enough to be a playoff team, and it just didn't work out. And sometimes you're gonna have that, and it's a damn shame. But this off season, to me, it felt like building toward the future. It didn't feel like building toward this year as much as it feels like building toward the future. And that's kind of what I've been asking for a long time. That I knew Pete Carroll and that regime was never going to do. And, you know, I'm excited. I can't lie and act like I'm not excited about the future of the Seahawks. I don't know how far we're going to go, this year. Like I said, I feel like it's like a 6 or 7 win like discrepancy like of where I feel like we could end up. I think Darnold is good enough. Like if if Darnold plays all 3 years of his contract, I'll be a little concerned because I don't think that would be because Darnold is all of a sudden this top 10, like top 5 guy like he was putting up the numbers to be last year. I don't think he is that. So if he plays all 3 years on this deal, he either is that, which is a good thing, or the Milroe's not working. It's not looking good in practice. They're not liking what they see. Maybe we see him in some games and it doesn't really work. And then that's a problem too, because now we have to go back to the drawing board to find the quarterback. And that's a realistic outcome. That's very much possible. It's more likely that that happens than that he becomes a star. But we have a chance at it now. We have a lottery ticket. Before, the Seahawks were content with just kind of going, we'll be fine with Geno. We'll figure it out with Geno. And maybe he's going to peak at like an 84 overall, but we're fine with that. And now it feels like we have a lottery ticket of like this guy could be one of the best quarterbacks in football or this guy could be a career backup and we don't know what it's going to be and we're going to fucking figure it out. Like we're going to work with this kid and we're going to do everything we can to make him the best player he can be and lead this team. And if it doesn't work, we're going to go back to the drawing board. And that's exciting because it's something new. It's something different. It's something we you know, haven't had that feeling in a long time since we drafted Russ. And even that was different because then, I mean, it was different, but it wasn't different because then we signed Matt Flynn. Now we signed Darnold. We drafted the kid in the third round. Then it was Russ. Now it's Milroe. And it's gonna be interesting because it's gonna be compared. And we've already seen the comparisons to Lamar, where Lamar didn't come in as the starter. Lamar didn't come in with a guaranteed job. It was just like, we're going to see what this kid can do. And Milroe is kind of, we're going to see what this kid can do. And Lamar got in halfway through that season. Maybe Milroe will get in halfway through this season. Um, so that's the Seahawks. What else? I can talk about Shador in Cleveland and what they have going on in Cleveland, which is very fascinating to me. I can't get over 2 years ago when they won like 13 games and they were awesome. And Flacco was the guy the second half of the year. I can't get over that team. I feel like that team is still in the Browns somewhere. Everybody looks at the Browns like, oh, they're still the Browns. They still stink. They're going to win 4 games, but for some reason I just can't. I can't get that vision of that team out of my head. That team was so fun to watch. I loved that team, and I was so scared of that team in the playoffs for the Ravens. And Flacco's back now, and they got Myles Garrett on a deal. And I don't know, man. When we talk about sleeper teams, I made fun of people for years because every year it felt like people were talking about the Browns as like a Super Bowl sleeper when they had Odell and Jarvis Landry and Baker was the quarterback, and every year we had to see people pick the Browns to go to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, and every time they did it I thought it was dumb. And now I'm like on the verge of like, am I gonna pick the Browns to make the playoffs this year? I don't know. I might. I really like the Browns, and I like the quarterback because I like Joe, and I think Joe can give them probably 7 or 8 good games. And then I think they hand it off to Shador, and I think Shador can take the ball and roll with it. I think Shador is really good, and he might not be a star. He might not be an All-Pro. He might not. Well, I was gonna say he might not be a Pro Bowler, but everybody can be a Pro Bowler nowadays because the actual Pro Bowlers never want to fucking do it. So Russ was a Pro Bowler last year, so shout out Russ. But I don't know. I don't know about Shador, man. I like him. I think he's good. I don't know why. I would have drafted him way earlier than the fifth round. Um, you know, I would have drafted him. If we would have drafted him instead of Milrow, I would be fine. I'd be very happy with that. Um, Now that it played out the way it did, I kind of like drafting Milrow over him just because Milrow feels like there is more. It's a little more boom or bust, but I kind of like Seattle going for the boom instead of the bust and go instead of going for the sure thing in quotes. Um, but I like the Browns. I can't. I like the coach Stefanski. I think is good. They have a. I don't think their roster's as bad as people think it is. It's not great. They play in a really tough division, but they're kind of built for it. Like they've always played in this really tough division. They played in that tough division when they won 13 games. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I probably am crazy, but I see something in Cleveland that I like. And I know they have 6 quarterbacks. They have Deshaun Watson, who's hurt and not going to play. They have Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, and Shador. Is that it? Is it only 5? It might be only 5. Pickett, Kenny Pickett, is just so funny. They traded for him. That's how you know the Browns did not think they were going to draft Shador and Dylan Gabriel because they traded a draft pick to get Kenny Pickett. If they were going into the draft like we're going to take 2 quarterbacks, they would not have fucking traded that pick for Kenny Pickett. They just would have kept that pick. I don't know. I don't remember what the pick was. It was like a 6th round pick next year or something for Kenny Pickett. They just wouldn't have done that. So I do subscribe to the theory that the owner of the Browns kind of stepped in and said, "Hey, I want him. Get him. Like I want Shador. I don't care. I know you already took Dylan Gabriel. Take Shador." And Dylan Gabriel getting picked over Shador was ridiculous. That was blasphemous. I can't believe that fucking happened. There was nothing about Dylan Gabriel in college said this guy's anywhere near Shador. He was not as good as Shador. If you put Shador on Oregon, they might win the national championship. There was there's literally nothing about the way Dylan Gabriel plays and the way Shador plays that says, oh, not only are these guys comparable, but that Dylan Gabriel is actually better than him. It's fucking dumb. I don't believe that for 1 second. Yeah, the owner had to have stepped in and said, "What the fuck are you guys doing? Get fucking Shador right now." And so they had to do it. But I think it's gonna work out. I think he's gonna be on that team longer than Dylan Gabriel is. I think he's gonna start games for them. I don't think Dylan Gabriel's gonna start any games for them. I think Shador's probably gonna start games for them this year. I don't think Dylan Gabriel's gonna start games for them ever. So it's intriguing to see what happens out there. I'm gonna do a full breakdown, a full prediction episode at some point. I might have a guest on to do that with me. I don't know yet, scheduling wise. We'll see what happens. Um, I'm just trying to think of what other around the Bengals contract issues. Oh yeah, I'm definitely talking about the Bengals for a bit because they go out and they go all in on offense and they say we're gonna give Higgins the huge contract and we're gonna give Jamar the huge contract, and that's the bed that they have chosen to lie in. I think personally that was a terrible decision. I don't think you can justify that at all. Because if you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the world, which I'm fine with, because I do think he is one of the best quarterbacks in the world. I know I was kind of shitting on him earlier, but I do think he's awesome. And I do think their Bengals struggles have less to do with Burrow than they have to do with other stuff. So I don't think you have to pay two top tier receivers top tier money. If you have a guy who's that good at quarterback, you shouldn't have to. You should be able to do what the Chiefs have done and kind of cheap out at receiver a little bit. Draft young guys, use those. Let your Tyreek Hills go. Let Mahomes carry that section. You can keep one. I'm not telling you have to trade them both. Keep one. Pick one. You can trade Jamar and get more value for Jamar, or you can keep Jamar because he's the better player, trade T. Higgins, get some value back for him, and then use that money to extend Trey Hendrickson, because that defense is terrible. And Trey Hendrickson is by far the best player on that defense. He led the league in sacks last year. He was awesome. He's an animal. And if you lose him, your bad defense is going to get even worse. So you have to pay him. You don't have a choice but to pay him. Because the reason you didn't make the playoffs last year was that your defense was atrocious. It was terrible. They couldn't stop anything. And you're going to make it worse? Because you don't have the money now to pay Trey Hendrickson the money that he deserves. It's not like he's asking for a ridiculous amount of money. He was the best sack getter in the league last year. Therefore, he deserves to get paid as much money as you can pay him. Like, he deserves to be towards the very top of the market when it comes to non-quarterback contracts, because he was the best pass rusher in football last year. You have to pay him that money. You can't cheap out on him, because he's not going to take that shit. The agents aren't going to take that shit because it's dumb. They would be dumb to fall for it with this fucking team. And then they draft a guy at the same position, Shamar Stewart, who's going to be the replacement, because they realize they're going to have to fucking trade Trey Hendrickson, and they still don't have a contract for him. Why? Because I don't know exactly what it is, but there was a clause in every Bengals rookie first round pick contract for the last however many years. And for some reason, the Bengals decided this year with Shamar Stewart that they're not going to have that in anymore. And Shamar wants that in. He wants that to be on the contract, but they've decided, no, we're not doing it. And Shamar Stewart and his agents are basically saying, We're not asking for anything. We're not holding out trying to get more money or anything. We just want the same contract that you've given every other first round pick for the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, however long it's been. Forever, maybe. I don't know. They just saying we want the same deal that these other guys have gotten, that the Burrow got, that Chase got, these other first round picks that they've used, Joe Mixon, way back when. They just want that, and the Bengals don't want to give it to them. And I don't think I feel bad for Joe Burrow a little bit because I don't think they're ever going to win a Super Bowl in Cincinnati. And I don't know if he's going to be the type of guy that leaves. Quarterbacks don't really leave anymore. You know, the great ones, the great quarterbacks, they never really have left. And they definitely don't seem like they leave now. I mean, Brady left at the very end for like 3 years. Manning left, but not because he wanted to leave, because they got rid of him. Because they didn't know if he was going to be able to come back after the neck injury, and obviously he did, and he was fucking awesome in Denver. Rodgers at the end, like, are we gonna have to wait for Burrow to leave Cincinnati until he's, until like 2038? Like, is that what we're looking at? Like, are we not gonna get to see what Burrow can do outside of Cincinnati until fucking 15 years from now? I hope not, because I don't think they're ever gonna win a Super Bowl because this ownership group is not serious. They don't want to spend money. They don't really know what they're doing. They're the Bengals. They're still the Bengals. And you can get a great quarterback and you can have a fantastic few drafts. But at the end of the day, if you're the Bengals, you're the Bengals. You don't spend money. You don't go out and get free agents. You don't want to extend all of your guys. And it doesn't matter if they have the best quarterback in the world or the 32nd best quarterback in the world. They're going to do the same shit. And so I don't think Burrow ever is going to get a ring if he stays in Cincinnati. Not because I don't think he's good enough to win a ring. Not because I think he's, overrated or anything. I just don't think this franchise is a serious enough franchise to go win a Super Bowl with. And I think they peaked early. I think getting to that Super Bowl, that was, I think, going to be the peak of the Joe Burrow era. I don't think they get back anytime soon. I don't think they win it ever. And I do think that's a shame because I do think Joe Burrow is awesome. I think he's I don't think he's as good as Lamar or Josh, but he's right there with them. He might be better than Josh. Honestly, he might be as good as Josh or better than Josh. And, my Ravens and Lamar bias, it's definitely a thing. I won't act like it's not. Many people probably think Burrow and Josh are both better than Lamar. I think those people are fucking insane. But they might think that. And yeah, Burrow's really good, and you can't watch Burrow last year and not say that guy's really good, and that his team is fucking him, and that knowing that the team is the Cincinnati Bengals, how can you not expect them to just continue fucking him for the rest of his career by not paying guys? And I don't know if the coach is good enough either. I don't know if Zach Taylor's good. Which is weird because he's been to a Super Bowl and he's been the coach forever, and I'm still kind of like, I don't know what does he really do? Like what do we what is he good? What is he doing there? Like how much is he adding to this organization? And do they need him? Can they do better? Should they do better? And what's it going to take for them to do better? Missing the playoffs for a third year in a row? Like is that what it takes? That might be what it takes. That might not. They might miss the playoffs for a third year in a row and still keep him, or they might make the playoffs and still fire him. I don't know. They're one of those organizations where no matter what they do, it feels like they're making the wrong decision because they usually are. you know, it's rare that you get a no-brainer thing like giving Joe Burrow all of the money in the world. Like that was obvious. That was like the Bengals did something right. Like we could say for a fact they did something right when they gave Joe Burrow the largest contract in NFL history at the time. Because they don't do stuff right very often. And I think they're going to continue to not do stuff right. And I do feel bad for Joe because I do think he is a good enough quarterback that he should be competing for championships every single year of his career. And unfortunately, he plays in Cincinnati where the ownership is fucking dumb. And he's not going to. He's not going to be able to compete for championships every single year of his career. At this point, I don't know when the next time he's going to be able to compete for a championship is. And I really kind of feel like it would probably be better off if he was doing it somewhere else. And but I don't know if he's the guy to leave. I don't know if he's the kind of guy to leave. Um, so we've done an hour. Um, this was a tough hour, I'm not gonna lie. I'm fucking tired. Um, but I got through, and I appreciate you guys for listening. And I'm pumped for football season. And let me know what you think about some of this stuff that I'm talking about. What do you think about the Lamar stuff and the quarterback rankings and what's going on in Seattle if you care? And what else you want to hear me talk about? I mean, it's the NFL. It's coming up. There's 100 teams that I need to touch on. Not literally 100 teams, but I can. There's a lot of stuff I can still talk about in the next month, 2 months until the regular season kicks off. And I'm excited to dive into football again. And let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to hear me talk about. Like, comment, subscribe, share the podcast. I appreciate you guys. And that's it.